Okay, I'm waiting for a few people to get in here and then we'll begin. We're going to talk about something important. We're going to talk about your karmic past and how that can fool with all kinds of things in your present. And if you allow it, it can actually screw things up with your current path. But we'll start on the teaching part of this. There's Carla, my friend Carla with the same name. So I just want to talk about not only making peace with your karmic past, but what's coming up on this rebirth of your new path. There's a very, what I like to call a short window where you are allowed to take advantage of certain planetary aspects, certain planetary configurations that are causing a major shift in certain signs right now. And a lot of people are either just sheltering inside and saying, oh, well, I'll just wait until it passes. Well, then you're going to miss out on the whole upgrade on your entire life. So what I'm going to do is sort of break it down for you and let you know how your karmic past, like if you keep recycling that same lesson and you keep thinking that that's the goal and that's the path you need to be on and you need to keep doing it until you get it right, that is incorrect as far as what I've seen on these reads. My name is Carla Barron, and I am a psychic, a medium, a psychic profiler. You've seen me on TV. You've heard me on radio for many years. And I am just trying to break this down in a way that you guys can understand. Yes, you had a karmic past. Yes, there are certain souls that you were drawn to, whether it be love relationships or work, career. Maybe it's just family relationships, members of your family where you feel like it's a little more, a little extra than what you had with other members of your family. And, certain things are happening usually around karmic past and karmic relationships where it's not all that easy, guys. In my readings, a number of readings I've had in the past, I'd say 3 to 4 weeks, people think that I'm just here to pontificate and to actually just peer into your future and tell you what's going to happen and end of story written in stone. But that's not true either. I'm not here to tell you to do something that you don't want to do or choose a relationship that you don't want to choose or leave a relationship you don't want to leave. I'm not here to do any of that. What I am here to do is just point out a certain path you're on. And if you want to change that path, you need to change X, Y, Z with that path in order to manifest that particular scenario, that timeline where that relationship works out so that you can see what that lesson was and assimilate. Now, here's the problem with most of what's gone on in the past 3 weeks with people. They're sitting and waiting for me to make some sort of declaration on their relationship, the thing they want most. Maybe you're getting in your own way. Maybe, fate isn't working out like you thought it would. and you think you know better than the universe. I am sitting here telling you that I don't even know better than the universe. Sometimes I think I do, and I try to anticipate what the universe is you know having in store for me. Um, but one thing I did learn doing this type of work is that you need to be fluid. You need to be ready to switch it up on a dime. That the lessons will change with free will choices. And some of the skills that I have actually learned this lifetime, one of them being patience, and the other one being uh, the ability to ignore the noise and look at what's really happening. To pare it down to something that's viable, something that I can use, something that I can assimilate, something that I can take with me. And that's the whole thing that I want to address with the rebirth of a new path. Right now, we have a very small window where a lot of you are making decisions. I mean, life decisions. Some of you are moving from one house to another. Some of you are establishing residency in another country. Some are looking at leaving a place they've been for a really long time and going to a transition place. Some are leaving relationships. Some are rediscovering older relationships and seeing what they need to see now because they ignored it before. Um, what I mean by making peace with your karmic past, that isn't just some, spiritual saying I'm throwing out there. Making peace with the karmic past means you take the lessons that were being shown to you, and painful or not painful, you take them with you, but you leave the players in the past in the past. You don't take it's the same thing if you're moving from one place to another, or one apartment to another, or whatever it is you're doing. Many times you don't take the old furniture to the new house. So if you're making peace with your karmic past, you take the things that you learned, you wrap yourself up in those lessons that will protect you. The rebirth of the new path is something that a lot of people don't believe in. They think that, once they leave something old, they have to suffer for many years and maybe forever. Maybe they don't have a new path to gravitate towards. Maybe there's nothing new for them. Maybe it's all over and they only have that one shot. Not true. Um, and I'm living proof of that. I've had certain things happen where I didn't plan on them, and I had to be fluid in my choices, in my reactions to these new scenarios that came up in the past year. And I had to make myself not only lighter and fluid and ready to adapt to whatever that was showing me, but also be prepared for being hurt again, or having changes to things where I like everything to be fixed, and I don't like to make changes. Most people don't. Um, it's a pain in the ass and nobody likes to do it. But I found myself changing because of these certain circumstances that came in. I found myself growing, and I just thought I would be doing what I'm doing. I never thought I would step into any type of new situation that I would just enhance the other ones. So, if you're making peace with your karmic past, I'll use my own example. I don't drag all my past relationships from, 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. I don't drag them forward and make other people suffer for them. I took what I needed from it, and I tried to make my own path better and more fluid, more enhanced, more joyful, more flowing as I went into the other things that I wanted to do with my life. Well, when I did that, I ended up attracting other relationships, other friends, other opportunities that came my way, and a level of success with certain things that I thought I wouldn't have success with. All because I decided to just wrap myself up in the lessons from my karmic past instead of succumbing to them and letting myself be all broken and I'm broken and don't come near me because I'm broken. No, I didn't do that. I I looked at my karmic past and I said, what can I use from that? What can I use from that? What can I take forward from that and just take that part and leave all the rest in the karmic past? Just leave all the rest there where it belongs, in the past. It was there to serve a purpose, whether it be painful or joyful or whatever it was there to serve a purpose. And all kinds of agreements, soul agreements, were made surrounding that karmic past. It's not something that just happened to people. People made agreements to make those things happen. People agreed to help you on your journey with certain lessons. So they fulfilled a role, stepping in, doing that for you. If you kept yourself in that loop for years and years and years, and some of you have, um, and you couldn't get off the hamster wheel, you couldn't get out of that tragic reenactment of that pain and that circumstance, and no matter what you did, you looked for every way to escape it. Well, it's not gonna just go away on its own. But if you just look at it one day and you say, well, it's painful, but I'm willing to go through it just so that it's over, just so that that thing, that lesson is is something I can take with me, and it's painful, but I'm going to rip it off like a band-aid, and it'll be over, but it'll be okay. And every single client that I've talked to that's done it that way very quickly gets to the other side of it. And they all come back and thank me. And they're like, "Oh my God, I thought I would be years trying to just adapt that lesson that I learned, that lesson of pain, but it wasn't years. It was a matter of a couple of weeks for a lot of them because they had the courage to just face it and to just do it. And you don't have to chastise yourself. There's no self-flagellation involved where you have to punish yourself for years and years and go, okay, well, I chose wrong and it was the easier choice. And, maybe it was a choice that your family wanted, or it was a choice that you thought other people expected you to make for yourself. And you didn't want to disappoint anyone. Maybe it was that kind of a choice. So you found yourself immersed in these painful, I mean, we're talking like it sliced you up pretty bad. And when you guys get to me, you're broken into a million pieces and wondering if there's anything left. And the thing is, there's always something left. But I always get to people at that point. even when I work on crime scenes and missing persons cases, I notice that it's not at the point where it first happens. Usually it's when they've exhausted every possibility and the family is just so torn apart and law enforcement is just so angry at each other and the circumstance. And it's just I get to it when it's just such such a pile of nonsense and chaotic mess, and I have to put it back together again like some sort of spiritual puzzle. And it's fine. I understand that right now at this time in history in 2026, that's how things are. People aren't enlightened when this stuff happens. They're reactive. People are reactive for the most part. They react to things, they react to circumstances, they react to karmic events that happen in your life. Instead of doing what I have been talking about for years, that you collect it in your little basket, okay? Collect the events there. Don't try to process them the second they happen. Just collect them there and then make sense of it later when you're in a better, more balanced frame of mind. And then you can take a look at it and see that it was horrible. It was unexpected. It was not deserved, whatever it was. But it happened. And there's a reason it happened right then and not at some other time on your timeline. It happened right then. I have some friends that I read, and I'll call them friends because they are now, because they've helped me with some of my stuff too. So I have some friends that have, it's almost like we're mirroring each other with the life events and what's going on. It's like a mirror sort of effect. And um, I find that it helps me to see others in a very similar, very it's like a symmetry that's going on between their events and my events. And it helps me as a teacher of these things, um, when I have like some other perspective to look at. Somebody else is going through the exact same thing, and that has actually helped me a lot. It's helped me it's helped me create words that define what that moment is for you. Um, okay, we have somebody that asked to speak. Fiona? Fiona.
Hi.
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 Good evening.
So, hi, good evening, and everyone on this call. And this is resonating so much. That's why I was like kind of um
Debating.
yeah, like kind of itching to say something. Also because I'm really happy Michelle is on this line because I wanted to make sure there was a potpourri. I've just been a silent lurker,
Okay.
and she asked a question in a potpourri, whatever the last potpourri was, March or April, I don't remember.
Okay.
But I remember she asked a question about guardian angels. And you started to talk about guardian angels, and then you went into miscarriages. And my whole question that I was in my mind was about miscarriages. And when she talked about her miscarriage or the miscarriage, and it reminded me of a miscarriage I had, and I was like, almost jumping out of my skin because I knew that the answer you were giving her was also the answer I needed to hear. And so when you're kind of talking about karma and relations and mirroring and one of the hardest things for me was that miscarriage and how do I move past it. because it was something I didn't want.
Well, and I don't know if I covered it on that potpourri at all, but what I've noticed when I read women who have gone through a miscarriage, and some of them, they're almost in their third trimester, and it's very difficult. Um, and you not only blame yourself for that soul that was lost because you were the caretaker of that soul. You're wondering if you're carrying that karma, like you killed somebody, or something that you did cause that to happen. I can tell you with 1000% certainty, 1000% after I've read so many people, that a miscarriage happens not because of some, yes, it's a physical event on this plane. Yes, it is. And there is a physical leaving of the body, and the soul abdicates that particular body. But what people don't understand, especially mothers and parents of those miscarriages, is that those souls come in just like you did, just like every soul here has come in with certain agreements in place. And if you're just beginning the life and you're assigned to a family, assigned to a set of parents, or just one parent, if it's a single mom, and or an adoption, like you're doing it for adoption purposes or surrogacy, and you're a surrogate, and you're giving up that child to another family for their um, euphoric experience with that, whatever it is. If if those elements that you aligned for yourself as a soul, if most of them are not in place by the time that pregnancy is ready, if most of the agreements, and most of the time it's because of free will choices, if most of the agreements have been broken, or they weren't observed, and somebody took an alternate path, it's because of free will choices that that pregnancy will not go to term, because of the baby's soul that said most of that is not what I agreed to, and I have to come back in. I have to come back in when most of the agreements that I assigned to myself will be honored. Does that make any sense to you, Fiona?
Hi, I'm sorry. I think I hit the button muted.
Yeah.
Yes, it completely makes sense. And the situation with the partner was abusive, and he pushed me around, and that's when the miscarriage occurred. And so I would understand why the child wouldn't want to come in. But it gave me I kind of gave up on being a mother.
Well, understand that the child, I know this is hard. It's like when you have a child that's abducted in a missing persons case, and you're like, well, that child wouldn't have chosen that. I'm here to tell you that souls are older souls and mature souls. You are born as a child, as a baby, as an infant, and then you grow. So yes, you do make those choices where you come into very hard karma, and you do it for a greater purpose. But that soul, that baby you were carrying, decided, not because of you and not because of the abuse. It was other things that I'm picking up that were not in place. There were certain things, a path that you didn't take because you took another path with your own career in your own life that wasn't in place, that was supposed to be in place. And there could have been, another father involved, where another partner would have been involved with you. But instead, you chose this other one that was a little harder for you. but it wasn't what the child agreed upon. And so that path ended up just being changed. And when they abdicate those lifetimes, it's either during the growth process in the womb, or it's between the first and third year of life, and then a crib death or some sort of other tragic, baby event happens. But it's usually before the third year of age here, and that's when they abdicate, because most of the stuff they agreed to do isn't in place. And it's for whatever reason. Somebody made another choice, then you had to make another choice, and you did the best you could. It wasn't because you were in an abusive relationship and it was your fault that you became a victim of this. That was another lesson you had to learn about yourself. It had nothing to do with this child. The other things that weren't in place for this child, even if no abuse happened at all, and you brought that baby to term and you brought that baby into the world, most of those agreements wouldn't have happened. And chances are really good, from most of the readings I've done, and I'm just saying this is from my experience, that that child would have abdicated in some sort of other way, whether it was a crib death, or an accident of some sort, in order to give themselves another opportunity to come back in with another set of circumstances that were more aligned with what they had agreed with in the first place. It really wasn't you that caused it. It was a series of events that sort of, one thing begets another, begets another, begets another. And it was nobody's fault, really, except it was different from what the soul agreed to when they first agreed to come in. Chances are that agreement happened like when you were a child. And it was before you were even in childbearing age, you know, and things changed for you. I'm picking up that you were actually meant to live in a different area of the country, um, is part of it. Like there were other things that were involved, another career path that was chosen. Any sense at all to any of this for you?
Um, I'm gonna try to just take it off of me personally for just a little bit, just to kind of keep it on topic,
Okay.
like on just so it'd be of a greater, maybe to everyone listening or anyone who will listen to this in the future. Um, Everything you say resonates with that. And then let's just say you had this idea, like for me, this is motherhood, right? And that
Right.
might not happen. And so now it's like, how do I come to terms when I feel stuck, because I've been stuck in this like idea of a certain path, like we're talking about karmic path, and I may now have to. You were talking about being fluid and open, and it's like,
I see another choice that's coming in, another opportunity. And it's kind of weird. I get symbols of things that sometimes I watch on one of my TV shows or something. So I'm just going to say the one that popped in just now was the one from the Testaments, the new one from the Handmaid's Tale. And it's the Testaments, where there's this school of these young women that are being groomed for certain things. I almost see like a school of some sort, or like a private, um, a private institution of some sort, but it's of like, it seems elevated. It seems spiritual to me. It seems like the learning is on a higher level, and gifted students. something about that is resonating with me and you for some reason. Like I don't think I've ever talked to you before, have I? I don't recognize your name.
No. I guess I'm kind of like, I'm thinking of the different types, like women have certain and I'm sorry, I guess I'm assuming the listeners all are right now we're all women. Maybe hopefully other people will be listening in the future, but um it's like maiden, mother, crone. And I feel like I'm skipping over the mother to just go to crone.
Well, first
And
of all,
part of me like is
crone is not a bad thing. It only became a bad thing recently, where image became such a it was almost like a death sentence, like, and now it's become very interesting, the wisdom that comes with,
well,
you
yeah, because you're talking about spirituality and some sort of elevated school and some, and I feel like I'm skipping over 'em. It's hard because this week is also Mother's Day
know,
week, right? And so it triggers me because I feel like,
it's here. Let me just say this much. What I see coming will will not only fill up that space of being a mother for you, but you'll be able to do it without needing that connection of having to actually give birth to that soul, but you're giving birth to their spirit. Okay, it's a different kind of birth, but it's the exact same thing, and it will feel the same because you're having such an impact on these lives. But you were meant to do more than one. That's why I'm seeing this kind of school institution, higher learning, private school maybe. But it looks like it is elevated, and it looks like you weren't meant to be just with one child, but a number of children. And if you had just one, you would have maybe bypassed that opportunity.
and thank you, because that gives me a little hope, because sometimes I just feel like I don't even
Well, you feel like you're used up and you have no purpose.
worth. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Your purpose is still there. I see it still in place. In fact, I would have to say it's before December. It's between Thanksgiving and Christmas is when I see this coming up. It's close. That's why you're having such a reaction to it right now. It's close. And that's why you're talking to me right now. Usually people don't come to me until right before they have to make that major last transition.
So you're telling me to try to keep moving on until I,
Well,
because
I'm
some
telling you that that one child, it
wasn't
would
the
have
be
been,
all and an end all of my
well,
existence, right?
yeah, it would have been wonderful for that microcosmic moment between you and that child. But and nothing's wrong with that. But you were meant to do an impact a number of women. I get they're women actually. I don't see young men in this group. That's why I brought up the Handmaid's Tale, and also the Testaments, the new show that they have now, because it looks like that almost. It's young women, and like it looks like a finishing school or something. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, that's what it looks like from the overview from the outside. But I'm seeing that it is also spiritual and purifying, and there's something about it that you would have missed if you had had just one child and you devoted all of your teachings and all of your grace and all of your moments to just that one.
Well, thank you for giving me hope. And thank you, Michelle, for that question you asked. maybe a month ago or whenever that was that I was listening. Because,
I'll do another one of the potpourri ones, like probably close to Memorial Day. We'll do another one because I tend to make them.
but I just thought that was so amazing how, and I didn't think it was a coincidence. I thought her question was piggybacking, and that's why I think everybody's question can have an impact on somebody listening now or in the future, and it's so
Well, and
interesting how
that's why
we're
I
all
do this.
interrelated. Yeah, we're all interrelated.
I do this platform for that reason. And I had somebody on YouTube. Actually, it's the only person on YouTube that was making a big deal about why I'm not on camera and why they don't want to look at just a screen of like whatever the Christmas ball was that I have there as my place card holder. Um, it wasn't because I didn't want to show my face on camera as much as I want you guys to listen to what's being said. And I found that when I was on TV, um, it was more about my hair and are you dating anyone or what? I mean, the questions were just of a lower level, and now that they don't have that to look at, the questions that I get are on a much higher plane. And I kept one day I'll do the hands with the cards or something so you guys have something to watch. But I don't feel the need to make it about my face or entertaining you in that way. It's not for entertainment purposes, it's for learning and listening. And something will resonate with you and it will help exponentially in your journey as you're going along, right? So the reason I chose to do just the audio part with the podcast is because I had done radio for 8 years, a national radio show before I got into television. Then I did TV, and it's very intoxicating doing TV, especially because of the attention I got was insane. Um, but it was also very difficult to live that way. Um, my life was not my own, and everyone else got a piece of me. I feel like Britney Spears saying that, but everybody got a piece of me at one point or another. And I didn't feel like I was on my own path. I was on everybody else's version of my path. So when I went back to this, um, it was definitely lining up. It was lining up with my energy field, with what I had, the wisdom I had accrued all this time. And I noticed that people were learning more and getting something more out of it this way. I mean, maybe in the future I'll do I'll do a table where you can see the cards I'm using and how I really make sense out of regular playing cards. That's what I use now. I went back to what I started with. I don't even use tarot cards anymore. Um, and it's because my mind, I get the images, I get the flashes right there and then. I get the timing faster with regular playing cards. So that was my method. And I'll show you guys my method when I move. When I move to a new place, I will set up a little camera on my hands and you can see the cards and I'll let you see what I do. I just pull random cards. I don't even do a spread. I mean, it's so boring. I just pull random cards. And for some reason in my head, it helps the images move forward and I can see an entire scene. But for you, that's what I saw. I saw an institution, a private institution, private school of some sort, and I see women. And I see that you will have such an impact on each each group of women that comes through that situation.
So what you're saying, Carla, is I have to stop being a hermit and feeling sorry for myself and get back into the world. Maybe eventually. Like, I've
Well,
I've put a big shell around myself because of.
you know what? no one has put a shell around themselves more than me. And I,
Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm Leo Sun, Cancer Moon, Scorpio rising. So when you talk about Scorpio, right, I get you. I
I
get you, my friend.
so you have Scorpio rising, and
So
you've got
couple fixed
Leo,
signs, yeah.
Leo
So
sun.
I'm a stubborn old mule. Yes,
What's your moon? What's your moon?
Cancer. So another
Cancer.
show.
Okay, so I have Scorpio sun, Cancer rising, and
Uh-huh.
my moon is Gemini, so it makes me fluid to begin with. So I can switch gears pretty quickly and get on to another
No,
moon.
I'm an old mule. I'm just like stubborn about stubborn, fixed about fixed, I
Well,
guess.
and here's the thing with you. People are saying this to me also. Do I need to do something to make that happen? Well, I mean, if you hide underneath your blankets all day and you never talk to anybody else, but I never leave my apartment and my entire life has changed.
Hmm.
I never left my apartment except for errands. I but 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 um I started doing this podcast again. And I started doing other types of work. And then I opened up a YouTube with the podcast because that became available. And then I started doing like case files that were interesting to me, that sort of pulled my attention. So I was with Brian Koberger for a while that all that was going on, and I still am until probably the end of that guy's life. And I found myself drawn to Nancy Guthrie recently. So all that happened. What that does is the universe will take those elements and magically whip it up into this thing where you are all of a sudden in the path of another soulmate that you're supposed to meet that actually will facilitate some of these things for your next part of the journey. So, do you need to leave home? I am living proof. I never left my apartment. And people looked at me going, "But you look so young. You looked at it like why aren't you out there dating? Why aren't you out there doing whatever?" And it's like I was I didn't just ended up doing that. And I still would keep myself up, and I was, cooking, and I was creating recipes, and I was doing my nails, my hair, all the rest of it. And people were saying to me, "Well, why are you doing that if nobody ever sees you?" And I said, "Because I'm doing it for me, because I feel better when I do it." And people didn't understand that I was doing it just for myself. So, a lot of opportunities have come in the past year since I've done that. And things that I never expected to happen in my life. And I never left my apartment. I mean, I have everything delivered, everything. I like being in my little sanctuary here. I wasn't afraid to go outside. I just preferred being here. I preferred not talking to people out there, where it was controlled, like a controlled environment like this. It was great. It was perfect. But having to go into a grocery store with hundreds of people and just, as a psychic, I found that I was being bombarded by all these energies that were just negative, this and that. I couldn't survive that way. And I just found myself extricating from societies and just doing this. But I'm telling you, even if you don't leave your home, it can happen.
Yeah, I
But you have
guess what you're
to
trying to say, like, open my mind a little bit. Open up to the possibility.
do
Let
this
us
type of thing where you're
one.
reaching out on a public platform like this, where you're posting about different things and someone connects with you. This is a great way to do it. This is how it happened for me. So, you reaching out on a public platform like this is more than enough. So, don't think that you have to do anything special. The universe will work with whatever is
My
most,
level is, yeah.
yeah, whatever is most comfortable for you to operate within. Your operating system is very important to the universe because you have to be centered when all of this is happening. You can't be a nervous wreck as you're trying to navigate the rest of this. You have to be centered and balanced and not doubt yourself. So, placing you in your most comfortable environment is key to the universe selecting these things. You going to a coffee shop to get your favorite coffee and you bump into somebody while you're standing in line, you know, anything like that, the
Kiss
universe,
map.
yeah, anything like that will be more than enough opportunity for the universe to make these things happen.
And having trust that the universe is my friend. It's not that I'm going to go out there and just have my heart pulverized every time, you know.
Well, I mean, you can go out there and think that before you go out there, but it's better if you trust the universe to have the wheel at this point. The universe has been around a lot longer than you, and is much more versed in creating the perfect storm of circumstances to enable your opportunities to come into view. So allow that to happen, Fiona. Allow it to happen. Allowance in one of my podcasts earlier, I said that allowance is 99.99% of this. You giving allowance to the universe. Okay, I'm ready. Go do it. It's just giving allowance to that event. So tell the universe tonight, okay, I'm allowing it now. I'm allowing you to, I will do my best to make you proud.
I'm allowing this universe. And even if I don't completely believe it, if Carla believes it, and all my friends on this, whoever's listening right now, they believe it, then maybe that's going to be my faith that it
Some of
will
my,
happen.
well, and some of the people listening here know some of the things that I have manifested are are needed a complete miracle to happen, and they happened in the past 9 months of my life now, and there was zero chance. Okay, so some things will happen as long as you're, I'm not saying to be sunshine and rainbows and unicorns 24/7. I'm not asking you to be something that you're not. What I am asking is that you allow it. That's where I run into the problem with most of my clients, is that they don't allow these great things to happen to them. They are their own obstacle course.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
they throw all these obstacles in their own path. And then I have to do the clearing every single time. And all I'm saying is allow it. Allow the universe to bestow upon you this, and you'll do the best you can with it. That's all you can offer, is to do the best you can.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Fiona, I'm so glad you came here and you spoke this time. I'm so glad.
Thanks. I may be a lurker the next time. You never know with me. I may, so don't have too much. We'll take it one at a time. But
I
thank you.
understand. I understand, but I'm glad you did tonight because I think it was important for you to do it for you. And I think not only you, but I think a number of people got a lot out of what you just did. That courage it took for you to say that story.
Thank you.
Okay, honey. All right. So, all right, who else do we have that wants to speak? If you do, go ahead and send me a request. And I'm going to keep talking about what to do with rebirthing this new path you're on. And that leaving the past behind, it's not leaving your karmic past, all of it. All you're leaving behind are the individuals who played a role in helping you assimilate that lesson. And you need to leave them in the past as a you know, they don't belong in your future path and in the new path of that rebirth of you and the next step you've got to go to. They've got their own next step that goes in a different direction. They were there just for that one thing or that number of years. That's, and there's no crime in that. There's no crime in them having, you'll meet again in another lifetime. It'll be just fine. But to drag the same people through all of your life in a selfish attempt to, because you don't like disconnecting, because you can't let go of something, that's also creating karma. And it prevents them from going off and doing what they need to do on their next part of the journey. So you see, it's not such a tragic thing. You leave them there, you leave them with love, you say, I love you, and check in every once in a while, and I'm going to go off and do this thing. And that's what needs to happen. So that's what I mean by making peace with your karmic past. It's leaving the individual souls to go on to their next part of the path. And then you have a rebirth. 2026, most of us are pretty much like it's like a trash compactor. Like you're putting 3-4 lifetimes into one now. Whereas when the life expectancy were dying at that age, you had one path. You had one life, one path, that was it. But now, if you do believe in reincarnation and you do come back, which I happen to know is a fact on my end because of the work I do, but I don't expect you to just buy into that. Just do your own research, do your own sensing around that topic, and take what you need from it, but from what I've seen, because you live longer now, because life experiences and events are happening at such a exponentially faster clip. We have to integrate faster now. We have to jam more lessons into that one lifetime. So many times you're living 3 lifetimes. And you can almost like I can do it with my own life. I can almost draw a line of demarcation where part 1 ended and I went into part 2. Part 2 ended and I went into part 3. I can almost tell you the week it happened. And that's what happens with these things. And you have to come to expect it. If you're an older soul, let's use Fiona's term. If you're a crone, people make that such a bad
Sorry.
No, but if you've lived for a little bit and you see what's going on, you will know that that's not such a bad thing. That it's exciting to have part 3 and maybe part 4. I'm expecting 5 parts this time because I'm not, jumping off this lifetime for many years yet. I mean, not only have I seen it in my own palmistry, but I've had visions that come in my dreams, and usually it's the dreams right before I wake up in the morning. And I've seen like how I become a spiritual teacher almost. Like, I'm seeing what I'm becoming as I go into that next part and then the next part after that. So I've got a bunch of stuff to do yet, so these lines of demarcation where, you left that one part one of your life, you went to part two. Do that for yourself. Like make a little drawing of on a timeline when that happened for you and when you went into the next part of your life. And it'll help you have an appreciation of, okay, this is what I took from part one. I brought it through to part two and it helped me out a lot. Because if I didn't go through part one, I would have been a real mess in part two. And that's the thing. If you're on the hamster wheel, you can't find yourself getting off of it, then locate somebody like me to help you through. Go find someone like me who will help you do that. And it's usually just a different way of looking at it, a different perspective, a different viewfinder. That's all it is. Nothing hard, nothing too difficult. And it's just another way that Fiona is going to be a mother. But she's going to be mother to many. And I want that testimonial, Fiona, when that happens, because that that would be such a great story. Let's go to rebirth of your new path. Most people are thinking that a rebirth of a new path means they have to change everything. No, usually it just means you have to change one thing. The new path is just, it's just using what you've gathered in your basket, all your skill set, all of your talents, all of your knowledge that you've accrued up until this point. You're going to apply it to that new path. That's what the new path is. And all you're leaving behind are the individuals that are still stuck in the old trajectory, the old path. They need to continue on that path for another reason, for themselves, and they will either venture off that path or they'll stay on it. But that's not your concern anymore. And it doesn't mean you don't care. It just means that they need to stay on that for as long as it takes. And you won't be lonely on your new path. You won't be lonely at all because there's others that are meant to meet you on the new path. There's others that will appear on the scene that all of a sudden the universe delivers to you right in front of you and says, here, these people are going to help you do this. And all of a sudden they appear out of nowhere. And people don't believe that's going to happen. I have watched it happen in my life. I don't know how many times. Like all of a sudden I'm sitting next to somebody and just so happens that blah, 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 blah. And it's just that happens to me so often that I don't even, it's not even funny anymore. And it can happen in a day, in a couple hours. Your whole life can change in a couple hours. People think, oh, well, I don't have like 20 years for a new life path. I don't have all that time. It can happen in a couple hours, guys. It's just you turn the corner. You turn the corner and there's something else there. And you're blindsided by it almost, but you're also very intrigued by it and you keep going. And you never thought it would happen for you and you just keep going. And you're meant to go on that path. You're meant to do that path. I need questions before I wrap up tonight's topic on this karmic past, what you should leave in the past. You just bring forward what you learned from it. That will keep you connected to it. It doesn't mean you're abandoning those people. It doesn't mean that you're abandoning your past and you're being disrespectful to it. You are remembering them by taking the best of what you learned and you're taking it with you to the new path that birth of that new path that you have to go on. And somehow, some way, it all works out, guys. I'm telling you, it all works out. And yeah, sometimes it's really painful on the old path and what was going on. But you can decide how much pain and at what level of pain you're willing to accept, you're willing to endure. Nobody told you that you have to make it painful for yourself. Nobody said, oh, you have to experience like a level 10 of pain in order to get something new. Nobody said that. That's the way society sort of force feeds us to believe that you have to live through pain, or you have to live with loss, or you have to live by sacrificing something. You don't have to sacrifice a damn thing, not one thing, to make it happen. Except I am going to make an exception to that. Except your own, the only thing you need to sacrifice is your own disbelief that it won't happen, or your own superstition that it won't happen if you don't sacrifice everything, or I need to give this up to get this, or I need to suffer a certain amount or I won't get this. That's ridiculous. And
But may I ask a follow-up question though on
sure.
this?
And Carla, I also added you. Okay. So yes.
So there's so much mythology about like the dark night of the soul, or even like a painful experience women talk about. Again, not something I physically went through, but I guess my point is like it's almost built into our psychology that we have had all these allegories and all these stories from wherever that like change is painful, right? Like we have to go dark night of the soul until there's darkness before the dawn, like how do we
Well,
kind of like jump
you know,
over that mental thing in order to
I'll tell you why. Earth, Earth, the Earth plane is a very physical plane. It's a very physically challenging plane. So when you choose to incarnate on this plane, you know that's what you're in for when you come here, because of gravity, because of just the amount of not only physical plane, but like mental anguish and emotions, and human beings have varying levels of connection here. So you tend to think that self-sacrifice is part of the deal, or sacrificing pleasure of some sort is part of the deal. And my answer to that is all in balance is part of the deal. As long as you can keep everything balanced, that you don't go too far to the other side where you're like a rock star gone awry or something, where you have to have um, all the pleasures and all the temptations and all the all the drugs and all the women and all the whatever it is, that you maintain a certain balance within yourself. You stay in your core, you stay who you are, while all of this is enhancing you on the outside. And that's where the sacrifice is not, some women give birth, you realize, and they don't have pain at all. Like, I've read where some women, and I've known some women that have given birth where it just drops out and there was no pain at all. So it depends on what you surround yourself with. Some women give birth underwater, you know, and the level of pain is reduced remarkably so.
Well, and you're going back to like that one metaphor you said earlier where it's like you were saying be fluid, right? Like
Mhm.
water going over rocks will smooth the rocks more than, and that's a gentle, and look at the impact it has on the rock, which doesn't, it's like the gentle
Well, and
go with the flow.
you could choose many things to sharpen those rocks or to smooth those rocks, but they're abrasive, and it requires pain and energy and heat and damage to the rock itself. But if you remain fluid, I mean, the human body is what percent water, right? So, and the earth is what percent water. So you might as well go with the elements that make it an easier part of the journey for you, an easier transition. You don't have to feel pain or go through excruciating transition phases in order to get to the other side. You can just walk over there, hon. You can just walk over there. It's a walk in the park. Just walk over there and enjoy yourself. Maybe get some ice cream on the way over. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but people make it so hard for themselves. That's the one thing that I have to say most of my clients do. They make it so hard for themselves. It's just like, it's such a production, you know? Make it pleasant for yourselves. Make it fun. Make learning fun while you're here. You got to learn anyway. You might as well have a good time doing it and be pleasant while things are going on, instead of expecting the worst and putting yourself through all kinds of suffering and being a victim of everything. There's no need for that. Unless you signed on for being a victim as a certain lesson. But there's no real need for that. It's it's something that we attach to ourselves in order to feel it more. Like we're here on earth, so we should feel it more. We should feel it physically more. We should have headaches all the time, or migraines, or develop some sort of illness in the body, because then we're grounded. We're more grounded. We can pick up much more of the lesson that way. No, you don't. You're actually getting in your own way by doing that. With me being more fluid, I float above it more. And I gather much more intel this way. I gather much more on floating above the circumstance, whatever it is, whatever that event is, whatever that happening is. If I'm floating above it and I'm fluid and I'm just floating on top of the wave, just going on top of the wave, allowing it to wash over me, allowing it, instead of thinking it's going to drown me, or holding on so tight that I drown myself. You know, just float on top of it. Float on top of it until you get to the other side of it. And you learn the lesson, and you're in much better shape for it at the end of that particular part of the journey. You're not all broken up and battered, you know? And it's something that I learned, that you can do it one of two ways. You can do it the hard way or the easy way. The easy way doesn't mean that you get less points with the universe if you take the easy way. But if you take the wrong path because you think it's easier to get to a certain goal that you have set for yourself, and you want that straight line to whatever that goal is, if it's money, feeling relevant, whatever it is, if it's getting married to somebody, if it's whatever it is, if you draw that straight line and you're doing that because because it's easier, i.e., it's something that was placed right in front of you and you think it's easier. Oh, the deceptive easy path. That's one that I need to go into now. The deceptive easy path is one that presents itself as the easiest path, but it was deceptive. It was placed there as a test by the universe to see if you would maintain who you were at your core. Will you still be the same and go through this path, or will that path change you for the worse? Will you end up mistreating people while you're on the path? Will you end up going towards a goal that is only self serving? Will you take everyone down with you when you go down? Because inevitably you will go down if you go down that type of path, that, if you weren't meant to begin with. If you were only going after something that's self-serving because you, quote, think you deserve it now. Yeah, you deserve goodness and you deserve good things. And if you remain the same inside at your core, if you remain the true to yourself version, then everything will work out beautifully for you. But if you end up grabbing onto people because you're drowning or you're flailing and you feel like you're going down with the ship, so you're going to drag everybody else with you, no, that's kind of the wrong path then. And you did it all because you needed to feel important, because everybody all your life told you that you were not important, that you were not special, that you were not worthy, that you were less than, and you believe them. And you know what? If you remain true to yourself, you're going to feel the way that you will feel when that happens will be euphoric. You will feel like you're having like some sort of spiritual orgasm. It'll be like this. You will know, because you'll have a glow. You'll be walking around with a glow. Like now, the work I'm doing now, much more important than anything before. Before I got to learn the ropes, I got to learn how it all works. And I very much value, and I learned a lot. But in my opinion, the work I'm doing now is so much more important, because I'm helping you guys with some really valuable insight that will unlock the code to your happiness, to your next step, to your next level of ascension. And I'm helping you do that. And that right there, the best. That's the best right there. So anything I did before was in preparation for this. Okay, I don't know why I went into all that, but I tend to go off on my little tangents here. Sorry, I apologize. But I needed to say that. I needed to say that. And I know some of you will get a lot out of what I just said. But the whole painful part of the experience, that's a human construct. That's something we made up to make ourselves feel grounded in the experience. It is not necessary to suffer through something in order to attain something. But remaining true to your core, remaining true to your path, true to who you are, true to your spirit, your higher self, that must be in place. That must be aligned. or you might get, a modicum of success with what you're doing, like a little bit of success, but very shortly thereafter, it will unravel at a very fast clip. It will unravel so fast that you will know that you stepped on the wrong path because it seemed like it was easy. Like, oh, the universe put it in front of me. I'm supposed to do this. No, you're a thinking, highly intelligent being. You are a sentient being. You have a soul. You know if it's wrong, and you knew it was wrong when you were doing it. But if you can remain yourself while you're doing it, maybe you'll carve a new path within that path. And others will follow you because they see it's okay to be yourself and still attain all these things and have all the happiness in the world and feel that euphoria, that glow that happens when you're doing what you're meant to do. That purpose. I'm telling you, I would be lost without this. I will never give this up. I would be lost without this. This is who I am. And whatever else happens in my life, this is who I am. So, as long as you know that part, you're good to go. So, I need any more questions about just, if you didn't understand what I meant by karmic past, or what to leave behind is basically just the people in the experience, and the places where that was, and just take the lesson with you. Wrap yourself in the lesson. You're very well protected doing that. Wrap yourself in the lesson. It is a protection device, and take it with you to the next new path that's right there waiting for you. All you gotta do is walk over. It's not even like very far. It's right there. The new path will only appear when you're ready to cross over into it, by the way. It's not there, tapping its foot going, you're late. You need to do this now. No. The new path shows itself when you're ready to cross into it. It doesn't appear before then. No matter how hard you try, the new path will not come into view until you're ready to step into it. And it usually is right there. It's not like you have to travel very far to get to it. The new path shows up right when you're ready to go to it. And people think, oh, well, what if I miss it? What if I miss my new path? What if by accident I miss that new path somehow, and I make a mistake, or I make a wrong turn, or I don't meet the right people? The universe isn't going to let that happen. There are usually multiple ways that you will either meet certain people, or meet opportunities, or meet different career choices, or whatever it is. And it's usually not just one way. When it's something karmic, it's usually a couple different ways that can happen. And the universe will choose whichever one is viable at that moment when you're ready to just walk into it.
I've heard it said like it's sort of like when you're driving your car and that GPS system tells you, "Oh, you missed that turn. Rerouting." And it will just you know what I'm trying to say? Like that's
That's what it's like. Yeah, that's exactly what it's like, actually, because what you do is um you
the
that
universe will find another way. Now you got to turn this way, but you'll get around and you'll get
you'll
back to
get
that
to
what
the same place, and and maybe you stop by a diner that has the best sandwich you've ever had in your life while you're there, and you're talking to somebody and they're telling you their story about something. It's just something else that happens, but you usually get to the same place. And that's the thing I'm saying, is that there are usually multiple ways by which you meet those opportunities, you meet those souls that you need to interact with in order for these lessons to come to fruition. I have seen this happen in my life numerous times, where there were multiple ways that I could have met that person, or I could have gotten that connection before, or with different jobs that I've had, where there were multiple ways that when I look back on it, I see that there were multiple ways I could have landed the job, or I could have met that person, or I could have um, chosen certain things. And if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen. I don't care what's happening in your life, and I don't care how tragic your life is. When I chose to do this full time, I had 3 eviction notices on my apartment door because I was being stubborn and holding on to like another job in the entertainment industry, as working in financing film and television. So I worked in the finance part of it, putting together deals for various films or television series. And I worked with other people that worked in finance quite a bit for that, and they would have writers, and I would be working with them on the writers. So the thing is that the position I was in, it would take years before I accrued the income that I needed in order to keep paying my rent. So I was like, I guess I should have thought that through a little bit better, but I was learning a skill. And I'm glad I did, because it taught me about the world of finance and how those people think. And now I just know that I will always have more than I need. And it's kind of weird. I learned that mantra about money and about finances and about I will always have more than I need, and I never worried about it after that. But it was when I made the decision to do this full time. And it was the best decision I ever made in my entire life. It wasn't forced on me, it just sort of happened one day. And I remember when I made the decision, I was a little scared, a little apprehensive that this wouldn't work out. And how am I going to support myself with this? But then I thought, of course I will, because I love doing this every day. Of course I will. And it was so funny. I have this influx of clients all of a sudden. And I just knew the universe took its magic wand over my head and said, magical child, you chose wisely, and here you go. Here's your reward. And it's so funny because I never worried about it ever again. Once I chose the path I was supposed to be on, and now I can't imagine doing anything else. So I stopped being stubborn. I stopped trying to push my own agenda, which was happening a lot in those days. I was pushing my own agenda quite a bit, and that ended up being harmful. After I kept harming not only myself but just everybody in my path. It was, because I had my own agenda, my own way of doing something, and I ended up delaying things actually for myself. But if it's meant to happen, there will usually be multiple ways by which you can make it to that destination. And people worry about, oh, am I going to miss the turn? No, you have that spiritual GPS going. It'll reroute you, like Fiona said. It'll reroute you. That was actually a good analogy.
So you're not your life purpose was not to be the Oingo Boingo video. I saw
No,
that one. And I guess
no.
in the middle of the clip that you shared, or the middle of that music video, that you're the one with the
Yeah.
banana clip and the
Oh
so that
yeah.
wasn't your life purpose. Okay. Got it.
No,
Okay.
no. At that time, I was doing stand-in work for a lot of like for 4 years back to back, and I was just learning how the industry worked a lot, and I was around famous
I'm
people
only
all day.
teasing you because I think that's pretty cool that you were in that video. Sorry.
Oh, and you know what? It was fun because I I met a lot of very influential people on that video set actually, and it was actually a turning point for me with a few things. So it was interesting that they focused on me a lot in that thing because I didn't even know they were going to do that. Um, I was just, I was actually helping a friend out. I wasn't even supposed to be dancing in the thing. I was supposed to just be on the sidelines, and I was working with the artists with you know I was actually working that side of it, and they said, "No, you look great. Come and be and go dance with this dude who I never saw before." And they said go and do this thing, and I said okay, so I'll go do this. And I was helping out my friend, my girlfriend at the time. She was part of casting for the thing, and she said, "Please, I had this one person. She left, and can you just fill in and just do this?" And I said, "Okay."
Well, and you're a Scorpio, and anyone who's listening to this, like, if you know tarot, you know the death card is the Scorpio card with whatever,
Hmm.
and the whole video has like this whole like Day of the Dead theme. I was like, that's so apropos because you like to post about being Scorpio girl, Scorpio love, and I'm like, that's so funny,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and some of the things that I've been involved in have been um, like, I was involved with that recall election with Arnold Schwarzenegger and that whole nonsense, and that was another thing. Like, why did that happen to me versus somebody else? Well, why? Because I was influential in causing a change with it, you know, and I was one of the groping victims. So it was either give my name, it was 20 minutes before midnight that night, and the LA Times was on the phone with me, and they said, well, you can either give your name or um, we can't run it then. We can't run your story, but please, please, please consider giving us your name because your story is actually one of the best ones we've heard so far. Because I sort of took care of it myself. I slapped him in the face and I said, don't ever do that to me again. I said, and if you do, I'll walk right over to Maria and let her know about your little antics here on this set. And he's apologizing to me more than anybody else in my life has ever. I mean, I'm talking ex-boyfriends haven't apologized. And it was for the next 3 days from the bottom of his heart. What can I do? Please, please accept my apology. And I just said, look, just don't do it again to any of my friends either, you know. And the guy's tongue was down my throat. It was disgusting. I mean, it was just, and they thought they were entitled. And that was the beginning of the Me Too launch and that whole thing. And I wasn't into protesting or any of that. I was into taking care of myself like I usually do because that's all I had was myself. So I took care of it and I slapped him in the face and I said, don't you ever touch me without my permission again. And he understood. And I made all the girls walk on the other side. Like if we had to walk by him and his crew, I made them walk on the other side. I said, he won't touch me again. I said, I guarantee it. I said, but walk on the other side of me and you'll be safe. And all these girls were like hovering around me. Like, I became this guardian angel for all these women in this thing. And I didn't understand why, but now I do, because, it sort of is my role this lifetime. So, but I remember they all,
Well, and also as a Scorpio, if it's the scorpion, right? You got to watch the tail, because once the tail comes around and zaps you, that's it. You're done. Like once that tail
well, and,
hits you.
and well, and he knew from, you know, he knew from my reaction that, um, I didn't need to go any further than his wife, who was visiting the set quite often. And I said, look, I said, I don't care what you do, but don't take advantage just because you are who you are. I said, ask a woman permission before you touch her. And that's all I ask, is that you have courtesy with the whole thing. And if she wants to go to a hotel room with you, well, then that's your business. But don't take it just because you can. And that's what happened with me and all the other girls. One girl, she had a nervous breakdown right in front of me. I thought she was never going. I thought she would have to be institutionalized. I mean, it was nonstop crying. He was fondling her. He was taking her clothes off. I mean, he was walking around naked all the time. And then the guy becomes governor. So that was just like the twist of fate we didn't see coming. Yeah. That was the twist of fate right there. And, it was what it was. It was a part of history. And every newspaper in the world was calling me on the phone. I had no idea about like what the press was, and like how that thing blew up the way that it did. I had no idea until the next morning, when my phone was ringing nonstop, and my phone number was given to all these news outlets. And I'm talking Chinese newspapers are calling me. I'm like, okay, Inside Edition, Access Hollywood, all these, so I could tell the story again. And I'm just like, and at the time, just shortly thereafter, I was developing my own thing, and I had just started working psychic crime. So I was appearing on ABC's 2020 primetime. So I had two segments that I was filming, and the third segment was about a little boy who reincarnated as a pilot, from a past life as a pilot. And he remembered the whole thing, and he was out of the San Diego area, I believe. And he was telling his story, but I had two of the segments and he had the third. So I remembered the Schwarzenegger thing came up right at the same time. And my producer, she came over from 60 Minutes. And she was a big producer over there, and then came over to ABC. So I remembered her saying to me at dinner, we were in West Hollywood somewhere, and she said, well, do you want to tell that part of the story on your interview? And I said, yeah, but I don't want to make it all about that. You can say that if you want, but it's not really that important. But if it helps your story, okay. And we were debating whether or not to even include it, because we didn't know if it would harm me and the rest of my career, right? Because here was this very it was a very sensitive topic at the time, and it was very politically driven, and we didn't know what to do with it. So it worked out that the head of ABC actually went to her and yelled at her and said, you had that girl right in front of you, and you didn't do a whole segment on her? Like, what's wrong with you? We needed that. And she got yelled at because she didn't get the exclusive to that story. And that's what news is. It's like, just, whoever, it's a moneymaker. That's all it is. And it wasn't something that I was really interested in pursuing. So all I'm saying is that I've been involved in certain aspects of history that are weird. And I I guess I came out okay, but I ended up, um, some of the choices I made were questionable in the early days that, I should never have consulted my parents about, because that's where I went wrong. When I started running my own thing and my own thoughts, and I was making choices for myself and centered in my own energy field and in my own glow, and where I needed to, and I wasn't consulting anybody else about it, that's when I did the best. That's when every door opened for me. So if that helps somebody.
I'm okay. Wow. Just wow. And then also, my mom is literally traveling to visit me, and she's probably going to walk in the door anytime. So again, the coincidences and the kismet and the whole synchronicity, and you hear what you have to hear at the certain time you have to hear it. It all
Mhm.
makes so much sense. And oh, hallelujah. I mean, it's like
Well, and
my
now
parents, my
you
parents, they meant well, but they were like, you should do this. And then it's like,
well, and that's
maybe
the
like
thing.
back.
When I listened to them, I made horrible choices. In fact, my father didn't even want me to go to Carnegie Mellon, where I went to school.
Oh,
He
wow.
Well, I did a stupid thing. I auditioned for Carnegie Mellon. I was a singer. I was a voice major and a piano major. I was both, and then I dropped piano because it was like I was in the rehearsal halls for like 7 hours a day, and it was just insane. So I was a double major at first, and then I just went to voice major. But you know what happened was is I auditioned and I had laryngitis. I actually had the nerve to audition still. And, my parents were like, don't choose that school. Go to Oberlin or go to Eastman, go to one of these other schools. It'll be fine. It'll be great. And I said then, even, I said, psychically, that's not where I see myself going. And he said, Carla, you, you got rejected, because they could hear your voice. They could hear that you were trained. They could hear everything was great, but they couldn't hear the tone of your voice because you had no voice left. And even with that obstacle, okay, it was July, and I've told this story before, so forgive me if you've already heard it.
I haven't heard it, so I guess I'm one of the
Yeah.
few. So
Okay.
sorry.
So I'll just tell it fast though. My dad is barbecuing chicken at the pool. I remember this day very well. It was a day in July. It was late July actually, and like July 20th or something. And um, my dad said, "You have to pick a school before midnight, so pick one." And I got accepted to all the other ones because I did my audition without laryngitis, so everything was fine. But the one that I knew I had to go to, the one that I knew psychically I was supposed to go to, which was Carnegie Mellon, I said, there's something wrong with this because I know I'm supposed to go there. And he said, Carla, stop talking about psychic stuff and pick one. And I said, okay. I said, give me 20 minutes. And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, give me 20 minutes. I'll be back. And I went up into my mom's office, her study up there, and I locked the door and I got on the phone and I called the dean of music. And I said, I want to talk about my admission into, and I was denied admission into your university and I want to talk about it. And I said, do you have a few minutes? And he said, okay. He said, let me grab your transcript. And so he grabbed it and he came back to the phone. And he said, well, he goes, from the notes here, he said, they can see the training. You obviously had extensive training and you were, they just couldn't hear the tone of your voice. And you were valedictorian. So the grades are there, all the rest of it. And he said, it's just that one thing. And he said, besides, now all the housing is gone. That I remember him saying that. All the housing is gone and been assigned already because we have students coming in here at the end of next month. And I said, okay. I said, let me make you a deal. I said, if I am not one of the best, if not the best student to graduate from that class, that university, then you can walk right up to me and ask me to leave personally, and no bad feelings about it will be had. And then he was silent for like a full minute. And I'm like, I just ruined everything by what I just said. And he goes, Carla, I've never heard anything like that in my life. Welcome to Carnegie Mellon.
I was gonna say, I was like, was that the chutzpah? No, was that the Gemini moon going? Like the tower,
I don't know
or
what
the
that was.
you
Well,
didn't. I don't know. I don't know if I know your ascendant. So I was like, was that the
well, I
ascendant?
Cancer rising.
Oh,
So
did say that. Okay, I'm
so
very apologetic. Yeah,
I
sorry.
don't know what it
But
was.
man, for
It
like a
was,
young woman, 17, 18 years old, to say
yeah, I was 17. I was 17 because my birthday was in November. So I had graduated and he told me all the housing was gone. And I said, look, my father can afford to pay for my housing. That's not a big deal. So I said, I'm fortunate enough that he could afford that. And I said, don't worry about the housing. That'll be fine. And I said, and you know what he said to me after that? He goes, and when you get here, I want to shake your hand when you get here. And I said, that
who
will,
wouldn't want to shake your hand after
and you
that?
know
Like
what?
that was a move. That
There
was quite the
there
move.
were 500 people in the entry hall of this building when all of us arrived. He walked right up to me and knew who I was. He said, you must be Carla Barron. I said, yeah. I said, how did you know? And he said, you just have an aura about you. He said, I knew it was you. I knew it was you. And I took a chance and I walked right over and he shook my hand and he goes, I'm very glad to have you here. And you know what was funny? I made good on my promise. I made good on my promise. There were 20 students in my freshman class, right? Voice majors. And when I graduated at the end of my senior year, there were only 4 left. All the rest either had nervous breakdowns or they were asked to leave by the university because they weren't cutting it. They weren't good enough. Because that was the type of school, it was a performance school. So if you had what was called a jury, um, every semester there were juries and we had to perform. And if you weren't good enough, you were handed a piece of paper and asked to leave. And there were 4 students who graduated in my class and I graduated with the highest honors. So there's that. And I made good on that promise. So, that was a
Well,
story.
that's actually astounding. And
Well, I knew that I had it. It's just that, not to blame my parents, but I was always getting sick around them,
Well,
and I was never sick when I was. No, I'm kidding.
no,
And like,
as somebody who
that's
gets
a
sick around
whole.
their parents.
I know. I'm like, but I was always
Sorry,
having
where's my mute button? I
laryngitis.
got to go back to the mute button. I'm sorry. So my commentary is
It's
not
okay.
pilferating this stream.
Well, and I was like getting laryngitis or like some sort of like, cold or some sort of flu, or I was constantly sick around them because subconsciously I always felt like I had to prove myself to them. And it was funny when I was away from them is when all the good stuff was happening, and that's when I excelled. When I stopped getting sick all the time. And now I haven't gotten sick in many, many, many years, knock on particle board here. But you know, there's other stories to tell, but it's
Can I
uh,
just say, your stories are so fascinating. Your life is fascinating. Your life is astounding, actually. Honestly.
well, thank you. But one day maybe I'll write the book. But right now I'm not about pushing myself in my own story. I kind of like telling the stories live because I'll tell
When it's
different
appropriate,
aspects.
yeah. I feel like I'm pushing you to tell more, and I apologize to anyone who I'm dominating the conversation, but I found this so immensely helpful for my personal self, and
Well,
thank
it's
you very
because
much.
well, you're welcome. And I could have collapsed into, all kinds of rabbit holes before in my life where I could have just collapsed into a ball and quit, and just didn't follow my own what I knew to be true and follow my own path and who I was at my core. I just knew that that's where I was supposed to go for whatever reason. And I had to make that happen. So I didn't have time to get nervous about the phone call. I didn't have time to second guess myself. I had to make the phone call and make that damn thing happen. I had 20 minutes to make it happen. So it's just sometimes you have to get out of your own way, and you have to be faithful to that version of yourself that's at your core, at your center of being, at your where you glow, where you vibrate the highest. And you can't deviate from that spot. That's where you're meant to be. So, we've gone a little while here, and I think we can wrap it up with that. That was a good story to end with, unless somebody's got a question, a last minute question, last call for any question about your karmic past, the new path you might be put on, something you didn't understand from earlier in the conversation. But Fiona, it was and I'm
The
gonna.
pleasure's all mine, but I feel like if I didn't give it other people a chance, I feel bad. I'm sorry. I kept.
Oh, no, 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 no. You know what? They had a chance to request me, and you know what? I think people just wanted to listen tonight. Some nights they're more about talking, some nights they're more about listening, and either way is the way it's supposed to be. So I didn't really sweat it. So thank you though for telling us your story. It was very genuine, and as long as it's true to yourself, I'm good for it. So thank you for coming on and doing that for us.
Thank you very much, and thank you all of Carla's loyal, wonderful
My
people.
my doves, I call them my doves, and they're my turtle doves at Christmas time because they magically change into turtle doves. I know that's stupid, but that's what they do. I started calling them my doves, I don't know why. I just started calling them that. And then at Christmas time, I'm like, no, they have to be turtle doves now. They have to go in the Christmas trees. They have to be turtle doves now. That's what happens at Christmas time for that month. until January 1st. They're all turtle doves. So you're a turtle dove at Christmas time too, and you're a dove now because you're here. So anyway,
Thank you.
all right, you're welcome. All right, you guys, it's been a good episode, and we'll see you next time. And I don't know, maybe we'll do another one on Nancy Guthrie next time. I don't want to do it every single week on Nancy Guthrie because I like to get other topics in there. But if you've got a topic you want me to do, just suggest it on my timeline here on my feed, and maybe that'll be the next podcast, and we'll talk about it. Okay. So I will wish you all a very good weekend and a rejuvenating weekend and a recentering weekend. And these will be up on all the platforms, including YouTube, within the hour. And you can put your comments here and on YouTube. Those are the only two places. And I will see you guys next time. I love you. Bye bye.
Bye.